Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Living on Music moment on ZTV, along with the Zebra Press, as we continue our celebration of the All Roads Lead to the Birchmere book, written by owner Gary Oelze and local accomplished bio writer Stephen Moore. Wanted to come on today and tease a little bit about tomorrow. We're going Thursday. Tomorrow we're going at 3 o'clock live from the Birchmere, right in the main hall there under the marquee with Mary Wadland, our publisher, and also Gary and Stephen Moore and myself for a brief kind of hello and a Q&A for a minute or two to tease a Living on Music episode. That's going to be coming up in the next week or two, that delves a little bit more into the book. Gary and Michael Jaworek from the Birchmere have been on Living on Music before, twice. We encored it. So you can go to the Zebra Press page, go to the videos, go down to Living on Music and scroll in, and you'll find the Birchmere episode there. But the book is something else. The book is something monumentally special, and we're here in the Zebra Press and on Living on Music to help celebrate it. Had a chance yesterday to go and site survey a couple of locations we're going to do the interviews at the Birchmere. Hung out with Gary, which is always just such a treat to get time to walk around the Birchmere with the owner, just one-on-one, and the four of us. That was a really wonderful experience. Also got my copy of All Roads Lead to the Birchmere. Here it is right here with a wonderful signing effort by both authors. Love Gary, said thanks for everything you have done for us. And I love that. I have promoted the Birchmere every single week practically on Living on Music since the pandemic began, when the show began. Well, what I'm here to do today is take you into the green room a little bit. And instead of doing kind of cutting in big pictures, I just decided to keep myself on here. I hope you can see me. I'm a little bit in the corner here with the TV, but you know, this is a little bit of my adventure as a music journalist, who I've known the Birchmere folks for many years, and I am able to go and not only go to shows after interviewing most artists there, but also get to meet them and talk to them. And I've talked to them for about an hour each about their lives, but I've been able to get a chance to go to this wonderful green room. We went in there yesterday because we're going to be doing a shot tomorrow in our interview, our long interview with the two of them in the green room, and we talked a little bit more about the green room itself, and how musicians not only appreciate the amazing people at the Birchmere and the incredible staff and the incredible diligence of people like Michael Jaworek, who books them and gets them in there, and then all the people like Bud and Mike and John Brinegar, and I could go on. I don't want to miss people's names, but obviously people that Ben Finkelstein, people that really work really hard to make that place great. But it also has a washer dryer out in the green room, and a shower, and 2 showers, and that's great for musicians. Not every green room in a venue has that. So I wanted to share a little bit of my green room / Birchmere experience with artists. The first one is not a green room. It is in front of a bus out in the alleyway, right behind the stage, where all the buses and all the vehicles that transport the musicians park. And you'll recognize there probably, I would think, Peter Frampton. I interviewed Peter out of my office at my job then at Channel 9. Closed the door and interviewed Peter Frampton, one of the great moments of my entire life. And we talked for 45 minutes or an hour. Got a chance to go back behind the Birchmere tunnel and meet Peter, and I sat there and I had my album Frampton Comes Alive, which is right up here on the shelf, and wanted him to sign it. And he came out, and I was really, really taken aghast. And I've met many people, as you'll see, and this is only a little snippet of the wonderful experiences and luck that I've had meeting these people. But I was almost speechless, and we talked for about 5 or 10 minutes about his current tour. He had just won a Grammy for his instrumental record, and it was just an amazing talk. And I was so absolutely flabbergasted. I turned around right here and I just said, "Thank you, Peter," shook his hand and started walking away. And he said, Steve, what about that?" And so the album is sitting on the little bench out there. And he said, "You want me to sign that?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he laughed. We laughed back here. So that was one of the more incredible moments at the Birchmere, kind of in the back area. This was another one that was a little more strange, but you can't beat. I'm going to post all these in a kind of a cluster on Living on Music just so you can look at them a little clearer. But This was obviously, that is the Queen, Ann Wilson of Heart, and I had interviewed her, had an incredible talk, and we decided to talk a little bit about, her amazing run with Heart, but also how Heart has become a machine, and she was really loved to go and play places like the Birchmere and play songs like from The Who and other bands, and also Heart songs. I got there, and usually you don't go in first and meet an artist at the Birchmere. Anybody, all my artist friends and all the journalist friends know that you don't meet them beforehand, because they're all getting psyched for the show. And I even know that in my much smaller cover band world, you kind of get all excited before the show and set, and then you talk to people during or after. So they still had me come in and meet Ann beforehand, and I walked in, and it was just Ann, and the picture was a little too light, but the all made up, mic'd in her ears. The band is in there with her. Nobody else in there but me and her PR person in the band. And I'm like, hi. And I went over to her, and she's like, hello. And I'm like, you remember we talked, Steve Howe? She goes, oh yes, I remember we talked about whatever. So it seems like she did remember the call. And the PR said, do you want to get a picture? And I said, well, absolutely. And even though it was a weird moment, it was in the green room, which we were in last night, and the walls are now green, actually green room, and the posters are down, and I guess they're going to be redoing that a little bit. This goes on as I go through here. Here's another one of my favorite moments of all time in the green room with one of my favorite people in the world, musician-wise, Steve Earle. Just saw Steve about 2 months ago up in Delaware at the Freeman Pavilion. Loved Steve, interviewed him twice, finally got to meet him in the green room at the Birchmere. It's like a haven, a utopia for me to be able to go there. And that was a great talk with Steve about our interview and about his show and things that were going on with him. These were pretty unbelievable. 2 times I interviewed David Crosby and got a chance to really chat with him. And this was actually during the pre-election between Hillary Clinton and I believe Donald Trump. And we were talking about politics, and he had a bunch of kids in there. And what an amazing guy. And all the stuff that you can say about David and his challenges and downers. He's an amazing guy, and he's still smart. And we talked for a long time. Got to hang out with John Friedman. My dear friend went with me and got to end up meeting David. So that was a treat for John. And I love that, bringing friends to meet these amazing people. Then, about 3 years later or more, I interviewed David again, and we got to go and talk to him in the Birchmere green room. Suzanne and I got to go in and see David. It was an incredible, incredible moment with this incredible man. And that is, again, what this green room is really all about. It is for the musicians to relax before and after the show, but also for people that they know well, family, friends, and, guys who talked to them for an hour about their lives. And he remembered the interviews we did, and we talked a little bit about, those kind of things. So that was amazing. Here's another unbelievable moment in the green room at the Birchmere with John Hyatt, who I had wanted to interview for many years. And just, it has to work well, and the tour has to go, and your schedule and their schedule and all that. And it just never had worked until about 2 years ago. And I got to not only go see him do his incredible solo show, but also a chance to meet John Hyatt. And what an incredible man. I don't have to tell much about him if you know who John is. One of the great singer-songwriters of our time. And again, what a thrill that was. This, Herb Alpert, one of my parents' favorite musicians, had multiple albums of Herb. And I got to interview Herb, and he was in his mid-80s, I believe, but still very, very lucid and exciting and fun. And we talked about music, and I couldn't believe that right in front of the green room, I got to meet Herb Alpert, and I was teary because he reminded me of my parents, and he got a little moved. It was one of those emotional meetings with one of these amazing people. One of my favorite people out there is Suzanne Vega, and again, what a wonderful experience meeting her and being able to go in and talk a little bit as she signed, of course, her classic record from that 80s period. And what an amazing lady. This was great. He just had his 72nd birthday. I don't remember the number. Southside Johnny Lyon. One of my great favorite musical guys, the Jersey Sound, everything like that. Interviewed Jeff Kazee, his keyboardist and musical director on Living on Music. Love Johnny, and that's right in front of the green room. And that was an amazing experience after all these years to finally interview and meet Johnny. Davy Knowles. Davy Knowles is one of the great blues players anywhere. And if you know Davy, you agree. And he is absolutely phenomenal. He did a tribute show to Rory Gallagher, one of his heroes. And this was at the Birchmere in the blue green room. There we go. And Davey and I got to meet, and Suzanne and I got to meet him at the Tally Ho a year later. What a sweet guy, and what a phenomenal blues player. Oh my gosh, just an incredible guy. Another guy who you guys know about if you know blues, roots blues, and kind of swamp blues, it's Luther Dickinson of the North Mississippi All-Stars. And I fell in love with them years ago. I went to see them at the State, got there early before my then wife was going to meet me. I went in the side door of the State Theater, and there was Luther and Cody and their bass player rehearsing. Nobody kicked me out. I didn't barge in. I just sat down in a little chair near the door. And then I walked over and met Luther, and a few years later, I interviewed him, and then a year or two later, I got to meet him, and what an amazing, amazing guy. North Mississippi All-Stars. Lamar Williams Jr., the son of Lamar Williams from the Allman Brothers, is playing on this record as well, the new North Mississippi All-Stars record. This is Kurt Newman, one of my favorite bands, Bodines. You guys know the Bodines. Again, for me, this has not really been a financially lucrative part of my career. TV was fine in that way, but doing music interviews and things like that was all about enriching my soul and my musical heart and meeting the people that I love, their music, and that's what most of these people you're seeing here are part of that. And Kurt Newman's no exception. I'm a huge Bodines fan and loved seeing him and meeting him. This was somebody I never thought I'd be able to interview because he didn't do a ton of interviews. I mean, he was doing a bunch, but to me, to be able to interview somebody, then you see them, then you get to go in here. And that's actually out front, I believe. No, that's in the green room. That is actually in the green room. And this is Richard Thompson. And massive fan, one of the most creative, incredible singer-songwriters that's ever lived. And to be able to go in and meet Richard at the green room in the Birchmere. This is another one of those ones that was all about music of my youth. We used to play baseball and soccer in the locker room. We used to put on Jay Giles, the live record, and we used to crank it up and get so pumped up. And Jay Giles was a huge part of our life. Jay Giles Band. Peter Wolf. This was from his solo record, which is a phenomenal record, by the way. And I'm spacing on the title. It's not Peace of Mind, but that song's on it. Anyway, to me, this is in his bus out in the alley behind the Birchmere. To be able to sit and talk to a guy like Peter Wolf. Yes, he looks pretty tired, but this is after a touring show, and he was fabulous on stage and really nice afterwards. That's an amazing moment. This one I'll end with. When I was a kid in Connecticut, we were Southern rock fans. Who knew that kids in Connecticut would love Southern rock? But we fell in love with it. We loved every Southern rock band that was out there in the 70s. And the Marshall Tucker Band was one that was no exception. I loved them. I slept out on the sidewalk in Hartford, Connecticut when I was in college for tickets. There's a whole story there because their bass player died the next week in a car accident. So we had front row in the first show ever without Tommy Caldwell. But this is Doug Gray. And Doug Gray is the lead singer for the entire career of the Marshall Tucker Band. There are a few songs that were big, like Can't You See, that Toy Caldwell sang and things like that. But Doug was the heart and soul. And what an incredible experience to not only interview, but meet a guy like Doug Gray in the green room at the Birchmere. And there are other people that I've met. Robin Trower was one that kind of went up the ramp and he was leaving, and I had Bridge of Sighs, and I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And he goes, "Good, bye." So you do that a little bit. Greg Lake was out in the front, but to get a chance to go in and talk to these guys face to face, it reminds me of the Living on Music musicians that I've interviewed in the pandemic over the last 20 months, and how I really can't wait to meet all of them in person. I've known some of them. I know some of them very well. There's some of them that I've met since, a few out there, but I just can't wait to meet all of you guys and share a little in person, hand in hand, and we'll get there someday. But that's the Birchmere right there. That is the green room in the Birchmere for me. Tomorrow, 3:00, right here on Zebra Press, on the Zebra Press page. Good news on Zebra Press, it says, or whatever, but Zebra Press, facebook.com/Zebra Press. I'll be here. I'll be live at the Birchmere with Gary Oelze, Stephen Moore, and Mary Wadland. We're going to do a quick hello, a quick question or two about how they're feeling about this book, and then we will say goodbye to the live shot, and I will interview those guys, and we will have a Living on Music show about All Roads Lead to the Birchmere. And again, this is a treasure. If you're a Birchmere fan, there are so many pieces of history that you're going to love, that everybody hopefully picks this up for their own sake, and also for Christmas. It's actually a perfect Christmas gift to a rock and roll fan, even if somebody doesn't know who the Birchmere is. The history is absolutely sensational. So enjoy the rest of your day. Join us tomorrow at 3-ish. Live here on Facebook, Zebra page, live at the Birchmere as we talk to Gary and Steve, and all roads lead to the Birchmere. Take care, everybody.